why they were able to complete the development but not the testing, whether they started working on the next development activity, something like that. And if it is a core testing team who works predominantly only on the testing activity, we can ask them why they were not able to complete all of them that they have committed, right? So you would try to understand the situation, and you would facilitate discussion if it is needed with the product owner, along with the scrum master, to explain the situation, what is the support needed for the development and testing side. And if it is a core development and testing team, and you will facilitate internal discussion as well to agree on the timelines when the story is going to be developed, when it is ready for testing, something like that. You would do it internally. And after you analyze all these situations, you will propose your changes in the planning process before even the sprint commence. And then obviously, as a test lead, for you the testing task would be the priority. And if you are already into test automation, if you, as a test lead, if you do have test automation experience, then you can train the team internally as and when they are available during the course of a sprint. You can conduct some planned trainings on test automation, as well as if there is someone interested from the development team who is also ready to do testing activity as a cross-skill resource, then you can train them as well on the testing methods. So here are some additional tips for the Scrum Master. So if you are attending the Scrum Master interview, you can say that you would be very patient enough during this process to understand the situation until you find a solution, and then it gets implemented down the lane. And you would say that you will be neutral, you would not take any sides of the development or testing or product owner in favor of them, and you would ignore the other participants by taking the side. So you would say that you would never take the sides and you will be neutral, and you will respect everyone's perspective as a scrum master, right? So it's not only for the scrum master, as a agile or scrum principle, we all need to respect everyone's perspective, and we need to listen to them to know what is their standpoint, what is their perspective, and we will try to help each other. Okay. So the next one is the scenario is your team has a very pushy and demanding product owner. A scrum master was sick during one of the sprint planning meetings and couldn't attend it. After he was back, the scrum master discovered that the team had been pushed into accepting more than they could accommodate in that sprint. What can be done in this situation? So this is for the scrum master interview, or as a team lead or team coach, what you would do. So this is the question scenario. And if you are dev lead or the a DevOps lead, so how you would handle the situation in the absence of scrum masters, the scenario that could be given to you, stated already that the product owner is demanding in nature. Okay. So first and foremost, you would talk to the product owner to understand that why there were so many work item has been pushed, and trying to be accommodated in the current sprint, whether there can be anything that can be pushed to the next sprint, and why it was not done during the planning process when he was absent on that day for the planning meeting. Is it due to the timelines, or is it there is already a lot of backlogs? There are a lot of bugs or defects that needs to be resolved as well for the upcoming release. You would try to talk to the product owner to understand the situation, and you would try to explain to the product owner that too much of work will make the team to burn out. They will get exhausted, and it will not give adequate quality. There would be poor quality work, and we might miss deadlines also if they are burnout, if they are taking too much of work during the sprint. In the upcoming sprint, they might fall sick, and it will lead to us missing the deadlines. So you can try to, as a scrum master, you would say that you would try to explain these situations to the product owner, and then after connecting with the team as well to understand that why they have accepted too much, whether it was just pushed by the product owner without being consulted by the team, and they had no option to explain the situation, and it was a very short time during the planning meeting to discuss further, because of which they have taken up the work. So after understanding the situation from the team as well, you should say that you will facilitate a meeting between the product owner and team to agree on the amount of work that can be completed in the current sprint, and whatever the work that we cannot complete, that we need to push it to the upcoming sprint. So you will discuss on the sprint goal during that, and you will agree on a solution from both the parties, right? And then once you have agreed on the sprint goal, then you would help the team to prioritize the work. So most important work gets completed at the earliest possible, and then they start focusing on the good work that we need to have, and then they can focus on the one that we have already agreed that we would be having in the upcoming sprint, or it won't be developed in the current sprint. That is a task they would be picking it up. So you will help them to prioritize the work. So one of the prioritization technique is using the WSJF, which is nothing but the weighted shortest job first. So whichever the product has a shortest time, but it delivers a lot of return on investment, that would be picked up first, and then whatever is going to cause um, more losses, or which is going to reduce the profit, or which is going to reduce the return on investment, if we delay it, then those are the tasks that we would be picking up faster. So there is a way to calculate the weighted shortest job first, and we would use the technique to prioritize the work. So the another fact is that it doesn't matter whether the scrum master present or not, the development lead or testing lead present or not during the planning meeting. They might be on a planned leave, or it might be a sick leave on that day. So the team needs to speak up for themselves, right? The scrum master should encourage the team speak up in these sort of situations, instead of being in a pressurized situation, keeping quiet and then accepting too much of work that will lead to further health issues. So the scrum master should also remind the team that they have the right to say no when they cannot accommodate something. And so the team understands these and follows it in the upcoming planning meeting or any planned agile ceremonies. Set boundaries. The scrum master should set boundaries with the product owner, and he should explain that the team cannot accept more work than they can accommodate, and we can easily find out what is the velocity, what was delivered in the past by the team, and we can take the average. And if anything goes beyond the average, then it indicates a alarming situation that we might compromise on the quality, or the team might take sick leave due to the burnouts. So we need to set the boundaries to the product owner, and these are the few things that we need to keep in mind. The skills or qualities. The scrum master has to be patient enough to understand the situation from the product owner. Instead of getting into an argumentative mode, he should be very patient enough to know the situation, why the product owner has pushed too much to the team, and same goes with the team as well. So he should be patient enough to understand the situation from the team, instead of shouting at them or yelling at them that why they have taken up so much, that knowing that they cannot deliver it. So he should be patient enough and supportive of product owner as well as the team, and he should be neutral. The scrum master should not take sides in the discussion. So he cannot just favor the team, saying that there is too much of work. At the same time, we need to see whether it's really estimated correctly, whether it's actually too much of work, or it's not a effective estimation that is done by the team. So the scrum master needs to see that, and he should try to see how he can help the product owner as well. And we always know that the scrum master should respect everyone's perspective, and it's not just only for the scrum master, it's for everyone in the team, that they need to respect everyone's time. Yeah. So next is on the interview questions would be on the KPI, the key performance indicators, the performance oriented questions. The scrum teams across the organization measure their velocity in story points completed. The project management office wants to collect the velocity data for all the teams set on an organizational benchmark. The scrum master of a team tells the PMO representative that it's not such a good idea. What might be the scrum master's reasoning? So the scenario would be So if you are a Scrum Master, okay, so you might be asked why you are saying that the PMO representative that it's not a good idea, right? That collecting the velocity data for all the teams to set a organizational benchmark. Yeah. So basically, velocity is an average of one particular team, right? And all the teams may not have equivalent amount of resources, right? So it's a mix and match based on the need of the project, right? So each team has its own deliverables, sprint goals. So it may not be the same composition. So one team might be having four developers and two testers. So another team might be having four developers and four testers. And another team might have four developers and one tester and one DevOps engineer. So that there would be a reason behind the team size. So the velocity is more of a team KPI, not a organizational benchmark. So that is a question. So they might try to understand your understanding, and they might probe you in that scenario. Okay. So let's see the ways you can respond to this situation. So velocity is not a realistic or reliable metric because it keeps on changing sprint after sprint. So it's just a number that the story points that are delivered by the team in the past, and the average might vary from team to team and from sprint to sprint for the same team also, right? So it's not guaranteed that the last sprint and current sprint velocity of the team, whatever they have delivered, would be matching, right? So last sprint someone would have taken leave. In the current sprint, the team might be full house. So when all the team members are present, they could have delivered more. But in the last sprint, they could have delivered less. So it's an average when it comes to the velocity. So we cannot take that as a reliable metric because it keeps on changing in the same team also, sprint to sprint, and it varies from team to team. So that is one of the way that you can say that as a scrum master. I would say that it's a misleading metric to take it as a consideration for a reliable way to compare the teams to set a organizational benchmark. And and it also leads to unhealthy competition. So we do know that it changes team to team, sprint to sprint for the same team. So they might focus on getting more story points than delivering quality work. They might focus on completing more story points, and that will lead to unhealthy focus for the team on delivering value to the customer, right? So they start focusing on delivering more story points, more velocity, than focusing on what is most needed actually for the customer, right? They might pick up a larger story points and they might try to deliver that than the one that they actually need to focus right away. So it leads to unhealthy competition between teams, and so you should say that as a scrum master you would not encourage that to be a reliable metric. So again, another factor is that this might lead to the team lead to micromanage the teams, or the scrum master or PMO. It could be anyone who handles the team, right? Who manages or supervises the team. They might start doing micromanagement on their velocity. So they focus too much on the numbers like velocity, story points, but whereas it leads to the downfall on the other side of innovation and creativity. That the team may be too focused on the completing the user stories than experimenting on new challenges, new improvements on the existing delivered futures, thinking that okay, if I focus on innovation and creativity, I may not be able to deliver more story points. So that leads to focusing only on the numbers being delivered, the story points being delivered, than the spike or innovation or creativity related work. Yeah, okay. So you can also say the limitations of velocity, right? So it's not a reliable metric, and it should not be used to compare teams or to micromanage teams, saying that you have not delivered enough story points, whereas the other team has delivered more story points, and we can suggest alternative metrics, right? So the alternate metrics we can say is the number of stories completed or the amount of value delivered to the customer, right? Instead of saying the number of story points, the team can focus on delivering more user stories. That way they deliver more value to the customer, and they delivered bug free features to the customer than delivering more story points that in return results to less quality and leads to a lot of defects, right? So likewise the scrum master can suggest alternative metrics that can be used to set a benchmark. And so it doesn't mean that we are being disrespectful to the PMO. So we understand the concerns from the PMO. At the same time, we enable them to understand what are all the implications in adapting sprint velocity as a reliable metric. Yeah. Okay. So the next question could be, for the past several sprints, the Scrum Master found that the team's burn down chart used to slope downward gently, flattening towards the middle of the sprint and then rapidly declining to zero on the last day. So they might ask you like, so you see a team's burn down chart is slope downward gently during the start of the sprint, and in the middle of the sprint it's a flat line, and again it's gradually going to or declining to a zero, and but end of the sprint it's completely sudden steep to the zero, that saying that they have completed everything. So how would you handle the situation, or what are all the things that you would take into consideration? This is how they would ask you during the interview. So the scrum master must say that, okay, so one thing could be like they could have not estimated the task properly. They would have not understand the features on day one itself, so that might lead to a lot of internal discussions before even they start the work. So because of which middle of the sprint it becomes a flat line, and once they understood the work they try to complete it, but unfortunately they were not able to complete until the last day they were working on it, which could lead to the sudden steep. So this is how we can explain these situations. Yeah. So it clearly says that the team is not managing their time effectively because it's completely flat during the middle of the sprint. That means that there was no work completed. That's the reason there is a flat line. And all of a sudden it's suddenly declining to zero. That means that either the board was not updated, the work was not updated, or the team was not transparent to the stakeholders. So they are keeping it flat, and on the last day they are updating the burn down chart to decline to zero. Okay. So the gentle slope down at the beginning of the sprint indicates that the team is not committing enough work. Yeah. So what it clearly says is that the gentle slope is nothing but start of the sprint, you are gradually or slowly moving towards completing your work, and you are keeping it flat during the sprint because you don't want to update the board. When you update the board, if the work is completed, then it will show it's already declined to zero in the middle of the sprint itself. So you don't do that. That is what the Scrum Master would imply by committing not enough work. Flattening in the middle of the sprint indicates that the team is not delivering work, because when the line is flat, there is no work delivered. It's completely a steady phase that they are still working on something, but nothing has been completed. And the rapid decline at the end of the sprint indicates that the team is scrambling to finish work at the last minute. So either the team is not transparent, or they try to rush up things and they try to complete everything on the last day. Okay. So yeah, let's see what are all the further explanation towards this scenario that you can do. The team may be overestimating their capacity at the beginning of the sprint. The team may be facing unexpected challenges during the sprint. The team may be working on tasks that are not well defined or that are difficult to estimate. So as I explained earlier, okay, so the team overestimated something, but down the lane it seems to be they are able to see that there is not adequate work, so they have overestimated the work, but they are not transparent. They do not admit that they have overestimated. They can take for few more to estimate and to complete in the available time. That could be one of the scenario. The another one is that So when they started working on it, there are some challenges because of which they are not able to progress in the middle of the sprint. That's the reason it's the flattening line in the middle of the sprint. Or the team may be working on tasks that are not well defined or that are difficult to estimate. As I said earlier, the team did not understand the task in detail because it is not well defined, and they are unable to estimate properly, because of which they have committed something that they cannot deliver in the middle of the sprint. That leads to the flattening line, but somehow they try to rush it and complete it end of the sprint once they explore and once it is getting defined better, and then they complete the task. So the activities for the scrum master would be like they need to the scrum master needs to work with the team to identify the root cause why the trend line is not a gentle steady steep line towards zero from start to end of the sprint, why it's all of a sudden declining to zero in the last minute or in the last days of the sprint. And then the team needs to improve on their estimation skills. That's what you would say, that okay, I will help the team to estimate the uh, user stories and tasks. I would provide them different estimation techniques like planning poker, t-shirt sizing. I would help them to groom the product backlog and then sprint backlog down the lane, and so that they can break down the task into smaller unit, more manageable, and it will get completed. When it is smaller, it will get completed as and when there is a progress. We can see it on the burn down chart. Yeah. So, and yeah, the Scrum Master should also remind the team that the goal of Scrum Master is to deliver value to the customer and not to burn through work at the last minute. So, as a Scrum Master, so we need to keep on explaining the importance of delivering value to the customer, and we should not hold everything to be delivered in the last minute. So it has to be delivered as and when it is ready, from the development to testing phase, from testing to the customer's review or the product owner's review, to ensure that there is nothing left out, or there is no bugs identified during the sprint. Even if it is identified, then it can be brought back to the notice of the development team to fix the bugs in the sprint itself, and it can be delivered as a bug-free product to the next phase for the user acceptance testing. The team should focus on delivering work that is on high quality that meets customer needs. So high quality and customer needs are most important. So we cannot just compromising on the quality or the need of the hour for the customer. So we should be able to meet by delivering it on time with high quality. So here are few are the points that the scrum master should keep in mind, that we should talk to the team to understand the trend. We should not assume something. So we need to see why it has been caused. What is the situation? The team needs help. Yeah, and then once we get to know after talking to them, we need to help them to improve their estimation skills. If it is a problem, they don't know how to estimate it. The scrum master should train the team for estimation, and then we need to always encourage the team to break down the large task into smaller units, more manageable one that they can complete on a daily basis or hourly basis. Otherwise, it will be a steady steep on the last day to decline to zero. So it will not make a very good impression about the progress how it has been made, right? So they need to break down the task. They need to make it smaller chunks, and they should be able to close them on time or well in advance, so that the next phase can kick start in. So if it is, seems to be a time management issue, the team spends too much time on collaboration, they don't understand or they don't use the agile ceremonies effectively. Instead of discussing a lot on the backlog grooming session, if they discuss the requirement during the sprint, then it is not managing their time effectively or making use of the agile ceremonies effectively. So the Scrum Master should help the team to manage the time by providing the tools and resources, or by working with them to develop time management plan.